All right, guys, I don't know if it's a Woodshed Wednesday or what, but a little bit of a techie video today. Yeah, I wanted to speak to you about probably one of my favorite pedals that I've discovered over the last 5 years. Great pedal here from KINGTONE. My buddy Jesse Davey is KINGTONE genius, and he designed this pedal, the Blues Power. I do get asked a lot, which one is better, the Blues Power or the Duelist? So first off, I want to say that the Duelist is a dual overdrive pedal. The Duelist is basically two different overdrives in one pedal. And Jesse had his own spin on it. He kind of used that as the foundation and then designed off of that. So they're not verbatim Tube Screamer and Blues Breaker on each side, but they have some similar characteristics and they work great together. They stack well together. And the Duelist is a great dual overdrive. And I kind of use this pedal a different way. I do preach a lot about this Blues Power because I recommend it to a lot of people who are trying to get a larger, wider, more 3D tone out of their amp, but they can't necessarily push the amp as much. If you're in a position like that where you have, say, a Super Reverb and you really want to get it pushing, but you can't turn it up where you're at, the Blues Power is what I use, and that's the fix I found. I'm going to start here with everything down, everything off, and I'm going to show you how I would go about setting it up. So we're currently on, we'll put it on stock and everything. Now, so my test amp right now is a custom Cougar 70 watt head. It's a prototype head that I've had for a while. It's not the new amp that I got. There'll be more about that soon. But this amp is clean up until you really dime everything. And you'll get something like... Now, I probably blew the camera out there, but I'll give you another example to where it's just deafening. Situation of playing around the house that's not really fruitful, and you're gonna upset the neighbors and family members and cats, and maybe you might even kill a bird midair. But the Blues Power has really helped me kind of get that tone, fat, saturated, juicy tone at a lower, comfortable volume. So if I were to approach this, I wanted to replicate my amp sound, and just for a reference, I'll play. Again, too loud. So I put that up, and I'll start with the volume up. We got nothing. We got to introduce some drive, I believe. And I'll give it a test, right? All right, it's a little dark, so I'll put some treble on. Still nothing. I'm missing that drive factor, that sparkle. Now, here's what I'll do. I kind of like what that's doing right there. I want a little more oomph out of it, but right now I'll just go back and check it to the amp. Okay, put that back on. Reference. Okay, I need a little more treble and I need a little more sustain. So I go right over to those two components. Treble, I'll add a little treble and I'll add a little drive. Making these adjustments, I recommend keep shutting the pedal off and get a reference to what your amp is doing. And it's going to hurt for a little bit, but... So, I feel like I might need a little more high end and a little more sustain, but I'll click it over the edge setting and maybe do that, and I'll see what that does for me. So I've just clicked it on the edge setting and just leveled the volume out. That's almost dead on what the amp is, just about 80 decibels quieter. All right, there's too much high end. So now there's too much high end, but I like what the edge setting does to the gain side. So let me bring the treble back, because I don't want to lose the characteristic that that edge setting is giving me, right? Sounds good. I'll put a little more bass in there, and I'll bring that drive back, the treble back a little bit more. It's a little spiky. Now, keep in mind, guys, you're never going to be able to produce what air does when it moves out of an amp, you know, but maybe a touch more of the drive. Could put the bass up a little bit, and maybe I'll try the glass setting. I feel like with the glass, it kind of made it more rounder and bitey, but I lost some drive. So I'll go back to the edge and I'll try to take some treble out again. Let's get the treble there and see what we got. Content with that. I mean, if you wanted to go a little more with the drive, you could actually use the drive as like a preamp and the volume as a master. So that right there is even more pleasing to the ear. So I would really just sit here and I would mess with that. I want more bass, I feel. And the drive is really what's given me kind of that fullness, because I'm looking for that feeling of the air getting pushed. I think that's it right there. right there. So that's how basically I will use the Blues Power. And like I said, it's if I'm traveling or playing with somebody, I'll just take the Blues Power with me, and I know that whatever amp I'm using or whatever amp I'm playing, it'll sound big. And I've been able to achieve my sound through a Deluxe reverb, a Princeton, a Tweed Champ, all this stuff. I mean, you're not gonna push as much air as if you were pushing a Super Reverb at 45 watts, but it just really does wonders if you're in a position where you can't get the amp to cook like you want to. And Jesse kind of chuckles when I tell him I use it as like an EQ, but I mean, this is the gain, and look at how low the volume is. It's just really... And just for a reference, what I was trying to demonstrate in this video was how the Blues Power has helped me. It may not help you guys, and you may not favor it. And I am an advocate of trying to get the best sound you can from guitar to amp. But in a situation where you can't really push the tubes hard, this is what I've personally found on my journey that really, really does the job for me. It takes the guesswork right out of it. All you have to do is set the Now, you can't play that loud in a small house or your bedroom or your apartment or with your family members home. So like I said, just messing with the EQ on the Blues Power. That just goes to show you how to get your tone while lowering the dB. Like I said, I just used my 59 Strat, custom by Cougar amp, and this beautiful KINGTONE Blues Power. I do get a lot of questions about comparing the Duelist and the Blues Power and how I set up the Blues Power. And this is just a big boost. And I'm using it as an EQ. That's what intrigues some people, because I'm getting this huge pushed amp tone using the Blues Power as an EQ, not as an overdrive or a clean boost or anything like that. I'm basically using these controls as an EQ. I'm finding my basically or technically a bright switch here from a Fender amp, and then I'm using this to shape my tone. And it's all right there if you just spend some time and sit down with it. So again, this is only how I set it up. You may not like the Blues Power, or you may have one and you want to try this method, but it's worked great for me. It's allowed me to get that huge SRV blues rock kind of tone from an amp that's really cranked, and you can kind of break the decibel level down, keep the hearing safe, and keep the family happy. And that's it. Just a bang up job from KINGTONE as always. Killer pedals, and I'm glad to call Jesse a friend because he's the man. That's how I use the Blues Power. Hope you guys can use it and enhance your tone in some way, shape, or form. We'll talk soon. Peace.